Have you ever found yourself suddenly anxious and wondered why? Stay tuned to learn a 3-card spread that can help you get to the source of your anxiety. Hi everybody, I'm Sue Ellen Clayton. Welcome to my channel where we're learning how to read tarot 1 card at a time. In today's video, we'll be using a 3-card spread to answer the question, why have I been so anxious lately? I will be using the Radiant Rider-Waite Tarot, and there is a link below. This question was posted anonymously online by a woman who I will call Carolyn. She did not give her age, but did mention that she had children. Carolyn wanted to know why she had been so anxious lately and drew 3 cards. As somebody who suffers from anxiety, I was interested to see what we could figure out. Carolyn did not mention using a spread. However, I will be using the Mind, Body, Spirit spread to look at the source of her anxiety. Card number 1 looked at the mental causes of Carolyn's anxiety, and she drew the 4 of Pentacles. Card number 2 looked at the physical causes of Carolyn's anxiety, and she drew the 10 of Cups. And card number 3 looked at the spiritual causes of Carolyn's anxiety, and she drew the Empress. Before we look at each card individually, I wanted to share my first impressions. I found it interesting that there were no swords in this reading. Swords are about thoughts, and I feel like anxiety is created by your thoughts. The next thing I noticed is that we have 2 stage cards. Stage cards can indicate a separation from other people or your community. It can also indicate that you are acting and trying to pretend to be something you are not. All of the cards had blue skies or sunny skies, so these cards all look very positive. This is interesting because there's often a disconnect between how you feel and how you're trying to appear to other people. We have a transition from city to country to a field in the middle of nature. There's a transition from masculine to a family to feminine, and we see a transition from an uncomfortable sitting position in the 4 of Pentacles to a very comfortable Empress. Now let's look at each card individually to see if we can find the source of Carolyn's anxiety. Card number 1 is about the mental causes of Carolyn's anxiety, and she drew the 4 of Pentacles. Pentacles are all about things in the physical realm, such as your health, financial situation, job or business, or your home or possessions. Here we see a strange-looking man, who I interpret to represent Carolyn, trying desperately to hang on to his coins. So we can guess that one or more of these areas feels out of control for Carolyn. The next step is to figure out what area is causing Carolyn's anxiety. Is it related to her health or her money? The other cards are both related to family, although Pentacles isn't generally seen as a family card like Cups, which is about emotions and relationships. Pentacles represent stability and are mostly associated with money. The other 2 cards indicate a very comfortable lifestyle, so I feel like Carolyn's stress level is related to money and trying to appear like she has more money than she actually does. Also, we see Carolyn on a stage. She is away from her community and trying to act like somebody who has money. I think that she is very worried about her financial situation, but is trying to keep how dire it is to herself. She has a fake crown and slippers made of money. I think that's the source of her anxiety. She's pretending that she has money, but she also knows that people can see that that is not true. So I think the first cause of Carolyn's anxiety are her thoughts about money. She's worried that she doesn't have enough, but she's trying to keep that hidden. Card number 2 is about Carolyn's physical causes of anxiety, and she drew the 10 of Cups. So this is interesting as we've come to the Happy Family card. As I mentioned earlier, the family is shown on stage in an idyllic setting. We have a loving couple with their arms around each other, and 2 happy children dressed in the same color as their parents, dancing beside them. Cups are about emotions and relationships. Here we have 10 cups, which is the maximum number in a major arcana, in a rainbow. It doesn't get much happier than that. So what would cause anxiety? Here are a few ideas. Remember that Carolyn and her family are shown on a stage. This could represent that she is under a lot of pressure to let the outside world believe that she has an ideal family, in spite of the fact that there are problems beneath the surface. Since Cups are about love and relationships, this could be a family conflict such as marital problems, estrangement from a family member, or issues such as hiding the fact that a child is dropping out of school or is using drugs. or it could be arguments about money. Another source of anxiety could be trying to appear perfect. I remember what it was like when my kids were young and I could barely hold it together. Yet I had friends whose house was always immaculate, made their own bread, and their kids never melted down in public. That was before the days of social media when I was just comparing myself to people I knew. I imagine that it would be very anxiety-inducing to compare yourself to an Instagram influencer. So Carolyn might feel anxious that people are going to discover that she is not the perfect wife and mother that people think she is, or that she expects that she should be. It's also possible that her happy family is all an act. This makes sense because she is on a stage. For many years, my family and I spent our holidays with another couple and their kids. My husband and I weren't really into PDA, and they were always hugging and kissing each other when we were together, which made me envious of their obvious love for each other. All of a sudden, they got divorced, and we learned that he had a porn addiction that had destroyed their marriage. So the happy family that we saw was actually only an act, and it must have been a very stressful charade to keep up in public. A final source of anxiety might be that Carolyn is currently happy with her family situation, but is afraid that changes will occur, such as a financial setback or someone losing their job, and her happiness will disappear. So there are a lot of things that could happen to explain the physical causes of Carolyn's anxiety. You've made it this far in the video, and I wanted to stop and ask for a favor if you're not already a subscriber, and that is to please hit the subscribe button. It is free for you, and it will also help me to grow this channel. Plus, it means that you won't miss anything. Thanks so much, and if you're already a subscriber, I truly appreciate your ongoing support. Now let's get back to the video. Card number 3 is about Carolyn's spiritual causes of her anxiety, and she drew the Empress. The Empress symbolizes fertility, pregnancy, marriage, motherhood, and feminine power. It can represent Carolyn's role as a mother, or her mother, or a mother-like figure in her life. This is always considered to be a very positive card, so how does it relate to anxiety? Because we all know that being a mother isn't anxiety-producing at all, right? The Empress is in the spiritual position of the spread, which is interesting. I think that speaks to pressure that motherhood is a spiritual calling, and there's an expectation that women embrace some kind of divine feminine standard that is almost impossible to reach. There's also an expectation that we have to have perfect relationships with our mothers, mother-in-laws, grandmothers, and our daughters. Unfortunately, all of us are human, and despite the ideal that we celebrate on Mother's Day, we don't always all get along, and that can create a lot of anxiety. The Empress is a nurturer and has the responsibility for caregiving in the family. I'm not sure what age Carolyn is, but statistics show that women bear the lion's share of caregiving responsibilities in the family. So she's possibly looking after her kids and maybe even aging parents, as well as other responsibilities in the community. Anxiety results when there is too much to do and too little time. The expectation that you're a caregiver creates a lot of guilt when you're trying to take care of yourself in addition to loved ones. Carolyn really wants to go to a yoga class, but her laundry is stacked up, her car is overdue for an oil change, and her kids have eaten at McDonald's 3 times this week because she hasn't enough energy to cook. The Empress is also very intuitive. If Carolyn falls into that category, as I do, it can create a lot of anxiety because you're very in tune with how people are feeling. Anxiety arises when you take on other people's feelings, yet feel inadequate to make things better. Finally, the Empress is someone who enjoys physical comforts. She's dressed beautifully. She's sitting on a comfortable throne in nature. There is an expectation that she is like Martha Stewart. Not only does this level of perfection create anxiety, but it is also expensive. So she might be worried about how to provide her family with the finer things in life that she thinks they deserve, which is certainly supported by my interpretation of the Four of Pentacles. So let's summarize. The purpose of this reading was to look at why Carolyn was so anxious. In the Four of Pentacles, we looked at the mental causes of her anxiety, which is money. Carolyn is worried that she doesn't have enough money to support her lifestyle, but is keeping that hidden. The Ten of Cups is about Carolyn's physical causes of anxiety. It appears like she's trying to appear that she has a perfect family, despite problems beneath the surface. This can range from conflict to money problems to fears that her happiness will disappear. Card number 3 is about Carolyn's spiritual causes of anxiety, and she drew the Empress. This echoes the other cards in that she's trying to live up to an unrealistic spiritual standard of motherhood. I hope this video has given you some ideas that you can apply to your tarot readings. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.